These topics are a daily diet of what I do on Countryfile and indeed on Costing the Earth, from TB to GM to super wheat to super weeds, shale gas fracking, Chillara fraxinia. You can see how far I'll go for alliteration, even to another language there. For those of you who aren't aware, that's the Chillara fraxinia is ash dieback in Anglo-Saxon. But I think it's right that the title of this talk does have a question mark after it. Because in some ways you could go out there and say, well, is the countryside in crisis? It's very easy to overdo a narrative of doom and divide. And in fact, this dual identity, double vision, if you like, of the countryside is very much represented on Countryfile, where they'll present a very bucolic, happy, largely cheery vision, and then I come along and generally spoil people's Sunday evenings with a dose of what I hope is reality, but they might think is doom. But impartiality and threat certainly keeps me in biscuits. If there wasn't a crisis, then I'm not quite sure what I'd be doing for a living, or at least the feeling of a crisis out there. And this sense of crisis does seem to be shared in the wider public. Just an example this afternoon, I was at home and a chap from a charity came by, knocked on the door, wanted to engage me in conversation in order to try and get some money out of me. And he was chatting away about asking me what I did for a living, and I said I was a journalist, and he said, what topics do you cover? And I said, oh, well, I do things like energy, farming, food, and the environment. He said, what side are you on? I said, sorry? What side are you on? And I said, well, generally, I'm on the side of all those things, because I think we'd struggle to survive without an environment, without farming, without energy, and indeed without food. But it did rather crystallize for me. There is a sort of narrative out there that puts these very much as adversarial issues with two sides. Now, just on that note, I'm just interested to ask the audience a question, if I can start with one. Could you put your hand up if you've been involved in any kind of campaign on these kind of issues that we're talking about? It might be the badger cull, it might be fracking, it might be the Trees and Forestry Commission thing we had a few years ago. Who here has been, it could be an internet petition, you've been on a demo, you've written to your MP. Who's actually got engaged in some way in addressing these things? Would you like to just put your hands up if you've been involved in that sort of thing? I'd say about a third of the audience here, which I have to say in terms of engagement is pretty high. So that's, we've obviously got a very well-informed audience here.